And I know it wasn't going through Paul's head. But for a second, maybe you'll admit that it would be going through your head and mine. Yeah, what is the big deal here? All I have to do is stop talking about the exclusivity of Jesus and shut up about the hope of resurrection in Jesus, and we can all get along. And I can go home. And I won't be a threat to them, and they won't hate me. What difference does it make if we say Jesus is the Messiah and they say he's not? What difference does it make if we say that we have to worship only Jesus because he's the only real God, and they say we worship Buddha or Muhammad or Allah? Don't you see, Paul knew that that's exactly why he was on trial here. The exclusivity of Jesus, the truth of Jesus, the reality of Jesus being the only Savior who can give us acceptance with God, the only one worthy of our worship. And Paul couldn't remove that resurrection part because that's a main thing of the gospel. Because in that resurrection, it shows the sufficiency of Christ's salvation for us. It shows the supremacy of his lordship over us, that he's alive, he's God, he reigns. And it tells people about his inevitable return. And dear one, again, you and me are going to be on trial in this life for the exact same reason. We too are going to be pressured if you just shut your mouth about Jesus at the workplace, at the school, with your friends, around the dinner table. If you just stop that, everyone will get along. And we won't have any trouble. Because as soon as you open your mouth about the historical Jesus, the Jesus of the Bible, the real Jesus, who he is and what he accomplished, that he took on flesh to die for sinners like us, that he died the death that we deserved in our place, and then 3 days later he rose victorious over death, and he ascended where he reigns over absolutely everything. As soon as you start opening your mouth about that Jesus, you're going to be a pest. You're going to be a plague. And the gospel will be attacked as a disease that needs to be cured and stopped from spreading. And people will feel very justified in shutting you up or shutting you down. Any effort to cancel this pestilence. But you have to go on sharing it. You can't compromise on Jesus' gospel. Not if you love him and not if you love people. They need to hear the truth. And they need to hear that it actually is a very, very big deal if they do not believe Jesus is the Messiah. And it really does matter that you worship anything or anyone other than Jesus. And it makes a very big difference if you try to find salvation in anyone or anything other than Jesus. Because if you say Jesus is not the Messiah and I say he is, one of us has got to be flat out wrong, right? And if I'm wrong, then I'm an idolater. And if you're wrong, then you are rejecting Jesus, which is rejecting God and the only salvation plan that he has for you. And that rejection, dear one, comes with eternal consequences for your soul. R.C. Sproul said to us, people of the way, at some point, you too are going to have to be a pest in the world. You cannot embrace Christ and at the same time make room for every pretender to his throne. And make no mistake again, being a pest for Jesus is going to cost us. We've enjoyed great freedoms in our country for a long time, but that's not the norm around the world, and it's eroding even in our own country right now. Those who oppose Christ will go to great lengths to oppose his people, his truth, his gospel. They will use skill in political maneuvering, just like here, in the legal system, in the education system, in the media. They will even use lies. We shouldn't be surprised by any of this. Jesus isn't. But instead, we need to prepare to cheerfully make a defense and trust in that moment God is in control. And all we're supposed to do is testify, and he will take care of the results. Even as we are hated, even as we suffer, just like Paul.